All right, we are live on Facebook. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for tuning in to our second live Chart-o-Thon event. We are so lucky to have 4 of our amazing certified specialists with us today to share their wisdom. Robin Wynn, Aubrey Parker, Tony Lepore, and Kelly Humans, thank you all for being here. We're so grateful for you. We've been doing these events to help answer some of your human design questions. And today we'll be focusing on the open centers of the chart. Many of you already submitted some questions for us to take a look at. So we'll go ahead and get started answering those. And I'm going to hide myself because the specialists are the stars today. All right, so let's get started. So the first question today is from Lee Loringer, and she is a reflector, and we are lucky enough to have Tony with us today, who is also a reflector. So she'll be answering this first question. Lee asks, I'm a reflector and fairly new to human design. At this time of my life, I'm dealing with many challenges, especially with family, in addition to the pandemic. With all of my centers open, is there one specific center area of my chart or center that can assist me the most in moving forward through these major difficulties? I really struggle being a reflector in this time of intense energies and chaos.
Hi, Lee. I can totally relate. Thank you for your question. Yeah, it is really tough. And what I do in this day is just try to stay off the news and stay out of drama. That's actually a rule I have in life is no drama. So you might want to take yourself for a walk or go read a book and stay out of your family's space. And I find that the emotional solar plexus and the sense of being a screen and not a sponge, and letting the waves of people's energies and their emotional waves go through you, and not to take it all in like a sponge. So easier said than done sometimes. And the other thing is that you're highly empathic. So that is the other thing with the screen and the sponge, is just make sure that ask that energy is yours. Is it mine? And if it's not, say you were just happy in a room by yourself reading a book, and then all of a sudden you feel this great emotion that isn't yours, it probably isn't yours. So stay calm and just know when it's yours and let it go through, and just appreciate what others are going through, but you don't have to take it on.
Thank you so much, Tony. All right, the next question will go to Robin. So Robin Rim asks, I would like to know how to work best with my open head center. In decision making, for example, I find it hard to decipher a clear way forward with all these thoughts in my head, pulling in all directions. I do use my sacral responses, taking into account my emotional wave, but I'm not sure how to totally detach from a head-based opinion.
Wow. Well, first of all, you have a really powerful chart with all those, 8 of your centers defined. So that open head is a big deal for you. And we put in with there too, the fact that you've got the 24 and the 43, 23. So you have a lot of mental activity. You're designed to have mental activity. So we're not trying to get rid of your mental activity. We want to look at, and you pointed to it really beautifully, that the decision making doesn't come from the head at all. It comes from the sacral. So the open head it's open to everything. It's receiving everything. So you want that openness. You want that. You want all of that arising. You don't want to push that away. What you want to do is use your sacral to determine which one of those ideas or thoughts to follow. So I would invite you to make friends with your open head and your thoughts and your ideas, and become really curious about them, instead of thinking that they're a problem or something to stop or be rid of in some way. Your open head is actually the one place in your system where you're a receiver. And we need you to be receiving. We need you to be in contact with the universe and all the ideas and thoughts that are coming through. So I'm not sure I fully answered your question. I don't see the question right now, but I would say, yeah, a clear way forward. How to decipher a clear way forward. Really, the way to decipher is the sacral, is to keep tuning in, especially with the 34. You can get scattered. And the important thing is to follow that yes, no. That will be your guidance with all those thoughts. You've got to balance having all those thoughts and using your sacral to see which one to follow. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Robin. All right, Aubrey, we're going to come to you for the next question. I'm going to unmute you. Jane asked, with an open head, ajna, and root, what is the best use of having these centers open? And what's the best way to sort out what's mine versus what I'm picking up? Is there a good way to keep these open areas grounded?
Yeah, this is a beautiful question. And I think this applies to a lot of open centers in general. It's like, how do I know what's mine versus what is not mine? I think, with an open head in ajna, the wisdom there is really, about kind of what Robin was speaking to, about being an interface with the divine and really being able to take in other ideas and inspirations from other people, and then being able to hold space for that and not getting caught up in the pressure of needing to figure things out. I think that's like 861 there. So you can really get caught in figuring out, like trying to feel the pressure of like, why is this happening? Or and it's about not getting caught up in that kind of pressure and just letting yourself be a vehicle for ideas and inspirations. And then with the open ajna, it's really about being able to see lots of different perspectives, and that's the wisdom here, right? Being able to see different angles of things, and being with different people and getting access to their way of thinking about the world. It just builds on this like beautiful knowledge base that you have about kind of who you are and why you're here. And so again, it's about not bowing to that pressure of needing to be certain and figure things out. And especially with the 47 there, both of those just being kind of single gates on an open center, sometimes that can really pressurize the energy. So, with the 47, it's really important that you keep your mindset in a really beautiful place, that you're really aligned and connected with truths about who you are and kind of connected to your feelings of adequacy and enoughness and lovability. And then with the open root, the wisdom there is really about knowing which things to kind of, how to use your adrenaline energy, which things to bow to the pressure to, and not letting the pressure overwhelm you. And this can be a challenging one where you can really feel like the pressure to get things done so you can just have your to-do list kind of clean and free. But the wisdom here is about, being able to step back and say, like, is this really mine? Do I really need to do this thing right now or follow through on this particular task? And I think in terms of being the second kind of part about being grounded, I think really finding practices to connect with some of your definition about the truth of who you are, finding healing work around conditioning, especially with the root center, like feeling the pressure to constantly need to get things done. Sometimes that can feel like a lot, especially as a manifesting generator. It can feel like you're constantly feeling the pressure to do. And so really looking at any conditioning you have there around like value systems of, I need to get lots of things done, and that's what makes me, good and valuable and worthy. And then, I think when you're feeling that pressure, that's a sign of, this isn't mine. So if you're feeling kind of in the flow and connected to yourself, then, and like feeling the expansiveness of the open centers, that's kind of a good feeling that you're connected to your stuff. But when you're starting to feel pressure to figure things out or get things done, that's probably a sign that you're kind of feeling into other people's energies. And it would be a good time to take some time alone and and maybe even do some meditation, because with those two open centers, you can really create a space of almost like mindlessness as you let kind of the energies flow through. So, yeah.
Thank you, Aubrey. Yeah, I think those themes of resisting pressure up for a lot of people right now, for sure. So thank you. All right, Kelly, we're coming to you. So Nayiri asks, I have several open centers in my chart. What does this mean? And what would be my best strategy in life? I assume she is for working with that openness and less like type and strategy.
I'm sorry, Betsy, I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said, because she said what would be my best strategy in life, but I think she's intending about working with the open centers and less about type and strategy, which we talked about in the last Chart-o-Thon.
Right. Well, and that's funny that you said that, because I was literally like thinking, well, you're a projector. So, okay. Hi, Nayiri. It's nice to look at you in energetic form. Thank you for that. Betsy, let me just read the question really quickly. Oh, okay. Got it. So yes, you do have a lot of open centers. You are a projector. You did say what would be my best strategy in life. So I am going to say that especially with the openness, following your strategy is critical, because you will be having tons of other people's energy floating through you that is very much going to feel like your own, meaning that you have ownership of it. So I think it's critical that you do really study what being a projector means, understanding what is the important strategy for you in making decisions, because that in and of itself will help you sort of identify what exactly am I feeling? Is it even mine? I personally think with all of this openness that going into question asking mode, also I'm going to speak my personal opinion about projectors that have all of this openness, need to remember that you're really driven to focus on other people and not so much on yourself. And so you can kind of not know yourself as well as you know others. And then couple that with all of this openness, you could take on energy that is not yours, that maybe feels like yours even more intensely. That is Kelly saying that. I have a projector son and a projector mother, so I feel like I'm pretty well versed in this type of behavior. And having someone that you can talk with about what you're feeling and taking in so that you can hear it outside of yourself will help you know what is truly yours versus what is not. So I think that's a strategy that you should definitely look into, having that trusted person that isn't going to try to tell you what to do, because you don't necessarily need that. You're a projector. You're very, very wise. And all of this openness makes you super wise about the various possibilities of ways to feel the energy that each of these centers represents. And so that would be my strategy recommendations for you. Find that trusted person that isn't going to listen to you and then try and tell you what you need to do, but so that you can hear yourself say out loud what you're feeling and thinking. And then of course, always remember you're a projector. And so the big important decisions in life, the where you work, the home you live in, and who you marry need to be invitational. I hope that was helpful.
Thank you, Kelly. All right. Tony, we'll pop back over to you for Jill's question. She says she's in her 50s and she's worked a corporate analytical job all her life. She's currently unemployed and looking for another corporate job to make money to retire. While she has some gifts to offer in the corporate world, she's a massage therapist and a social worker and interested in energy healing and has lots of other interests. She likes being in nature and making pottery and is never bored. She's lived alone all her life. She wants to move out of the area where she's lived her whole life but isn't sure where to go and for what reason, and she's feeling directionless. What can you tell her about her open centers to help her find clarity on how to feel fulfilled and what she could be doing to live into her highest potential? She's a projector and has learned that she needs to wait for an invitation on these big questions.
Hi, Jill. Yeah, first of all, if we look at your open head, which is really designed to put questions out to the universe and also feel in others' inspirations and ideas, and just know that sometimes they're not coming from you, but from outside of you. So if you're looking at changing up your life, you might want to just put those questions out into the quantum field and ask, well, what is right? How can I find out what's right for me next? Or where might be the right place for me to live? And that ties into your Open G identity center about, well, I can see you have the 10, which is all about really loving yourself first, wherever you are, but also finding the right place and the right people. And I can relate, your mom's aging and you want to be around her, but maybe in the meantime, you can just go when it's safe in these days and times, go on a road trip and see what place and what people might resonate with you, which might tie into a new career. It sounds like you're almost like a manifesting generator with all these different multitasking things going on, but you have many, many options, which is great. Or you could even be an armchair traveler. There's tons of great websites out there that can show you where to live and start doing the research from home. And maybe your mom could even help you, or you can put some questions to her. Of course, your type, being a projector, that's kind of a big decision, as moving and career. So you might want to just wait for an invitation too after you put those questions out to the universe. Wait and see what comes back and who invites you, because that might just clinch it. And then, oh my gosh, you have so much openness. So your will center, I think in addition with the 10, in your G center and your open will is about what's truly valuable to you in life, and also valuing yourself and what's going to make you happy, and not anybody else but you. So, and gosh, there's so much here, so much openness that you're going to take in and amplify from others. Even heading down to a coffee shop and maybe soaking up some energy of others and getting some more ideas and inspiration. So, but make sure you take care of yourself, love yourself, rest and know when enough is enough, and set realistic goals for yourself, because your open route is going to want the to-do list, and you'll never want to get anything or rest and relax till you get it all done. But you're going to have to just ask, okay, what is really important? Does this have to get done right now? What would be the worst that would happen if this doesn't get done right now? So trust in divine timing and be patient.
I love that. I don't think I've ever heard the phrase armchair traveler before, but I'm taking that now. It's fantastic. And I love the idea of going on a road trip and feeling different places as well, because exactly what you were saying, with that open G center, feeling right place, right people. Such a great idea. Thank you, Tony, so much. It's great. All right, Robin. Elaine asks, is there a relationship between my open centers at the throat and the G that is related to knowing what questions to ask when it comes to getting my needs met?
That's an interesting question, Elaine. Knowing what questions to ask. So when I look at your head, actually, is where I go first, and I see that you have the channel, the right brain channel of downloads. I guess I'm wondering if you know what your needs are, first of all, and where you're going to kind of understand what your needs are. There's something I'm not quite getting here. What I know for myself with my open G and open throat is that, so where I'm getting tripped up, is it, do you know your needs? Or is it a question of knowing how to ask what question? Because with the open throat, it can be hard to have your needs heard, right? You speak them and nobody hears them. So that's one challenge. Unless it's a conundrum. Having an open throat, I think, is a bit of a conundrum, especially around needs, because you can speak your needs and they're not heard. So that's one challenge. And then what needs to speak, what questions to ask. One thing I know I do sometimes is I say, are you open to having me ask you a question? Or I have some needs, are you open to hearing them? Sometimes that will create a bridge to people to listen. If the issue is, are they listening or not? With the open G, there can be a challenge of not feeling like, at least again, for me, with an open G, that my needs, that I have needs, I know what my needs are. There can be a question of, do I deserve to have my needs met? With the question of lovability, do I love myself enough to ask for what I need? That can be an issue with the open G.
Mm-hmm.
So I can feel the conundrum here for you. What I want to say is, first of all, that, your needs matter. To be clear on that, that when you're solid in your knowing and trusting that you're valuable and that you're lovable and that your needs matter, then we can begin to look at how to go about getting those needs met.
Thank you, Robin. Yeah. And I think you really said something about do you feel lovable enough to ask for what you need also, and to speak up and to tap into that. That really resonated for me. Thank you. Beautiful. All right. This person did not submit a chart, but they did submit a question. I hope I pronounce this right, if it's Rio. So we'll go to Aubrey for this question. Rio has 3 open centers: the ego or will center, the spleen, and the root. And they're wondering if you can give a brief description of what that means. Specifically, they're wondering about the open will.
Sure. So I think, to go through each one, we'll start with the open root. So, for all these energies, there's kind of a high expression when you feel like you're really in the flow. And then there can be kind of a lower expression where you feel like maybe some of your conditioning, or you feel a little more like pressure or stuckness. And with the root center, that can feel like a pressure to get things done, to have this long to-do list. And like, as soon as you get everything done, then you'll be free of this pressure and everything will feel good. But right, the trouble is that, the list is never done, and we constantly have more things in our lives piling up. And so it can feel like this endless pressure. And the other thing about the root to keep in mind is that then it puts pressure on everything else in the chart when it's open. And so, kind of leaning into the wisdom and the beauty in this center is really kind of figuring out how to leverage your energy and really starting to ask the question, like, is this pressure mine? Do I really need to bow to this pressure? Will it serve me to kind of push and push and push myself and not take a rest? Especially because as a collective, I think we really, it's like we kind of celebrate that adrenaline energy, and we fuel up on coffee all the time and we go really hard. It's like taking a step back from that and figuring out like, what role does that play in your life? And then for the spleen center, the wisdom here is really about being deeply intuitive and figuring out like what things are worth holding on to versus what things are ready to be let go. What patterns are you ready to shed? What fears are you ready to kind of move past from, and really kind of feeling into right timing. And so, you know, in its kind of challenging aspect, it can feel like you kind of are stuck in fear, kind of depending, especially depending on the gates, if you have any that are defined in that open center. And it can also sometimes feel like you have a really hard time letting things go, letting relationships go when it's time, or letting behavior patterns go, letting belief systems go, even stuff. Like it can be hard to let go of, like, you know, your baby blankets or old stuff from your kids or whatever. And then the will center is really about really being wise about what's valuable in life, your own value, as well as the value of your resources, the people in your life, the things you have. It's like what really is makes meaning in your life and what doesn't. And so kind of on the challenging aspect, it can feel, especially with the open root, like a pressure to prove yourself, a pressure to prove your value and your worthiness, and to push until you burn out, just so you can prove like I'm enough, I have enough, or, you know, I like who I am is enough. So this one, it's really about constantly being in check about your own sense of value and worthiness. Do you feel like you inherently are enough because you exist, because you are a divine kind of, you're a spark of the divine, because you're here. And it's about kind of connecting in with that energy instead of letting kind of external pressures really get you in this sense of like needing to prove yourself and prove your value in external ways, versus knowing your enoughness and then being able to take action from that place. So.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Oops. We will move to Alejandra's question for Kelly. So Alejandra asked, I've been working on a personal writing project for a long time, but I have a hard time concentrating and focusing on finishing it. I make excuses, I get distracted by other things, and although it's a dream for me to finish it, I keep going around and I don't. I'd appreciate any feedback and suggestions related to my open centers. So a question about focus and concentration.
Yeah. Hi. Okay. Well, congratulations on your book. It's going to be amazing when you finish it. All right, let me just look at this. I also, I believe, Betsy, if you scroll down just a little bit, I'm sorry, up, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm guessing that the age you are, you may actually be in a Saturn return or close to it, somewhere around there. I'd have to run the chart to know for sure, but and if that's the case, this book that sounds like you've been working on for a while, so what happens with these Saturn returns that happen in our late 20s and our late 50s, and then again if we live long enough, but is for course correction if needed, right? So that was the first thing when I first looked at this submission. That was the first thing I noticed, is that I wonder if she's in her second Saturn return. So I'm just bringing that up. If you want to go further with that, you could reach out to a specialist and get deeper into that. Then the second thing I thought of immediately looking at this chart was that you're a generator. And I personally believe that generator energy are the most fortunate ones as far as figuring out things, regardless of openness, once they tap into their sacral energy. Because the sacral has sounds like or depending on how your sacral energy is activated, it could be even faster, like yep, that kind of thing. So having that trusted person, or even paying for a sacral session to help you identify what you truly want, because I think generator energy, having that within the body, like that's why I think that's the as far as figuring things out, the Kelly's personal opinion is the most fortunate energy, because you've got this internal, like right in the gut, yep, nope, yep. But I understand with openness and conditioning that we can be far removed from our sacral power. So, and I can see that coupled with, if you are going through a Saturn return or about to, or just finished it, along with your open head, feeling like, why is this book not done yet? That could be, an issue. So my first recommendation would be that you either have an official sacral sound, a sacral session, and pose this question to your human design person that you decide to have that sacral session with, and ask, very pointed yes, no questions. Have them ask you those yes, no questions, and they'll know how to help you tune in to find your actual sacral energy. Okay. The other thing I would say, since you do seem to be in your head, is asking some questions that we might recommend when you have an open head and ajna, like, am I trying to answer questions that aren't even my own? Am I trying to answer everybody else's questions, the collective's questions? I know I know telling someone that with an open head, they're just like, what? So I want to be really helpful. First and foremost, getting in tune with your sacral will answer everything. The yes, no. Secondly, really, and I would journal on it, like, and just write, at the top of the journal, am I under pressure trying to answer everyone else's questions? Because what's happening, whether you think they're everyone else's or not, the questions are floating through you because you're open in your head and your ajna, all the way down to your sacral. You're open. So you're having all of this energy float through you. We are in the year of disruption in 2020. Everybody has questions. And so you're absorbing all of that. And you may, in fact, if you are in your second Saturn return, be in a planetary shift of your own, just because of your chronological age. So, my recommendation is have a sacral session, get really in tune with your sacral, and the answers will come to you that will, and then, you'll wait for something to respond to. Always take action in response. That is what is correct for you. And that's what you need to do. So if you think it and then start doing action, you've entered into it incorrectly, right? So, and maybe even with your writing, maybe you've put pressure on yourself. Like, I need to sit down and write this amount of words at this time every day. And it doesn't feel good, and you can't finish because it was entered into in the wrong energetic, with the wrong energy to begin with. So when you're sitting down and writing, should come from an inspiration versus what you think should be happening. I hope that's helpful. Betsy, I know you wanted us to keep it at 2 to 3 minutes, so I'm trying.
Thanks, Kelly. Yeah, and I think as you brought up the open head and ajna too, sometimes that open ajna can have trouble holding on to one thought or idea, and can have a tendency to multidimensionalize and things like that. So that can sometimes impact focus as well, as far as the open centers. So, and you were on it about the Saturn return. Looks like they're 60 years old. So yeah, very cool. All right, Tony, we're coming back to you for Alex's question. Alex has a completely open head with no activations, and they feel like their life has been difficult in terms of knowing who they are. They've been confused and unsure of pretty much everything, they say. They're trying to experiment with everything, but it feels like they never get confirmation or clarity. So they're wondering how they can get clarity in a head that has none on anything. And what's really bugging them is finding the right work. And they're a generator, so that set off some good energies for them.
Hi, Alex. Yeah, it's great to be a generator because you have lots of energy, sacral energy for work. And yeah, it is about finding that right work that you become a master at. And, you know, a couple things that I see right off the bat is you have an open throat, which could make you really good with foreign languages. Maybe being a translator or a voice mimic of some kind. And the other thing is you have an open ajna that makes you really good at seeing many sides to an issue. And also you can be very intellectual. So in your open head, you might want to just put those questions out to the universe and say, you know, what is my right career? What could I do that best suits me? And wait for those answers to come back for you to respond to. And when they do, you might want to have somebody ask your sacral yes or no questions. You know, does this career feel right to you? And you can give it a yes or a no. But you also have an open will center, so which means that you are you want to be sure about what is truly valuable in life to you. So it has to feel valuable to you and your community and make a difference in this world. And you have to value yourself and know that whatever you do, you are valuable and you are going to make a difference. So I know it's difficult to find that right thing. What else? You're definitely with the open head nausea and under pressure all the time. It's no wonder you feel like you have no clarity because you're under pressure to figure these things out, but that's actually not your job. You just need to put out the questions and wait and see what comes back. So that should give you some relief right there. You just relax. You don't have to figure it out. The universe is going to figure it out for you. So you can daydream, you can use some creative thinking, put questions out, be curious and see what comes back. I hope that helps.
I love that about curiosity, Tony, because actually he said he had no activations, but he has an open head, but he has all 3 of the head gates activated actually. So he's asking questions all the time. So I love that advice about curiosity and allowing the universe to respond with the answer to those questions instead of feeling a need to figure it out. Thank you for that. Okay, Robin. This is a question from Katarina, who asks about her 3 completely open centers, the head and root and the will center, wondering what it means that she's especially receptive to those energies and what effect that might have on her in general. Oh, she's actually got 5 open centers, but she only asked about 3.
Yeah, I see that. Katarina, I love this question. I'm going to talk for a minute from a slightly different angle than maybe you sometimes hear. First of all, I love my open centers. So a lot of people, you know, give open centers a bad rap. I actually think they're the most powerful centers we have. So just as a brief reminder for everyone, where we're defined, we're broadcasting, we have consistent access to those energies. Where we're open, we're receiving. So if you think of an open center that has a hanging gate off of it, like your spleen center or your emotional solar plexus, you have something to hold on to with those. So these totally open centers are like complete access without anything to hold on to, complete access to those energies, the vast expanse of thoughts, the vast expanse of what's valuable, the vast expanse of what needs to be done, what's the pressurized energy. So on the high side, it's like, I think of those open centers as access to, like they're a God portal. They're access to the entire universe of that energy. So you have complete access. If those filters are clear, if you untangle yourself from your conditioning, you can access the all of life. Like you have a beautiful chart for a meditator, for example. You can just go into samadhi with that open head of yours. Now, the challenge of those completely open centers is that you don't have anything to hold on to. So you're going to have to rely on some of either your definition to support you, like you've got these beautiful love gates, your self-love, being ground on your self-loving as you go into curiosity about your open head and open thoughts. You're going to have to find a different way to ground. We all do with our open centers, because we can't ground on our definition, but you especially need to ground, say, with your open head, on the space within which the thoughts arise. With your open will, to ground on value itself, the is of life, that we all have value. And then from there, be curious about what people value, what you value, step into the openness of value. And with your open root, this can be quite scattering. The challenge there, it can be very scattering. And again, if you can open with that completely open root into all, like all that needs to be done, and all the vitality of the universe just humming, waiting to step into action, to sit in that place of hum of that root center without feeling like you actually have to let the arrow go. You can sit in that exquisite tension, if you want to say it that way. So they are more challenging, actually, the totally open centers, but I also feel like there's more possibility with them to surrender and open. And you have the channel of surrender. So you can do this, you can ground and do the work that those, I think of them as spiritual paths, each one of those open centers. So you have the genius channel to look at that very clearly. And yeah, I think you have a lovely path ahead with those open centers. So enjoy your open centers. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Robin. I love your perspective on the open centers. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, Aubrey, this next question is for you from Debbie. And she asks, after several decades as an OR nurse, she left her career, and during her recovery learned about human design. She reinvented herself as a portrait artist and discovered that she's very good at it. Her challenge is a resistance to committing to anything to market herself. And with the open root and head, she just feels pressure combined with overwhelm from being so empathic. And she's wondering what strengths she can draw on to be open to responding to opportunities.
Beautiful. Yeah, Debbie, I can really see with all of your openness, kind of piggybacking off of what Robin was talking about, is that it makes sense that you would be really good at portrait photography, because when you're with someone else, you really can capture the truth of who they are with your open G, and you can really connect to what's valuable to them and their inspirations and how they communicate and their emotional sense. And so I think that is beautiful that you found that. And I think it also makes sense that with so much openness, it can feel really hard to put yourself out there with an open throat. Sometimes you can feel like, you've been talking or telling people about what you do and they just don't hear you, because the energy there is kind of what you mentioned, I think, at the end of your question. It's like you need to be recognized and invited. You need someone else to see you to be able to share, vocally what kind of the work that you're doing and your inspirations and your marketing. And the same with the open G. Sometimes that can feel like, the combination there can feel like you're invisible. And then with the pressurized centers of the open head and the open root, it can just feel like a pressure to really be seen, or a pressure to have people really understand you, or, through your marketing efforts, almost as a validation. So that's one thing I would just be careful of is, marketing can really just be an expression of who you are and sharing your gifts with the world, versus needing it to be a reflection of your value or your worthiness, kind of with some of these open centers. The other thing I might say, with having the open G and the open throat, something that might be helpful is, because you may have struggles in kind of talking about yourself in a way that feels authentic or a way that feels really aligned to who you are, getting some really good friends and just kind of having some time where you talk about with them who you are and what you do in a way that feels like no pressure. You're just kind of sharing with them what you're excited about your work and the offerings that you have and what lights you up, because you have energy in your chart for, you know, receiving support and receiving inspiration and ideas, and really with the right people, that can feel like a really loving, beautiful time to get clear on, oh yeah, this is really what I want to say, because you need other people's energy to kind of help you get clear on what that is. And then of course, as a generator, waiting to respond to the right opportunities around marketing. It's like you can do all this preparation and kind of loving on yourself and recognizing how valuable and worthy your services are, and really getting clear on what your offerings are. And then it's about waiting for something to respond to in terms of the timing for when it's time to like put something out there. So that's something.
Thank you, Aubrey. Okay, coming to Kelly for Ineki. She did not submit a chart, it looks like. So her question is about the G center, which is open with no activations. She says her whole life she's been searching for direction and for purpose, but doesn't really know what she wants. And she's wondering if there's a correlation between this and her open G center, which there most certainly is. So.
Hi. So yes, I mean, like it's like textbook with the open G. It's our identity center, which I will talk about since I do have 2 minutes. I love the G. I have it open as well, like completely open. But I do want to talk about what types of things what types of energy rest in the G center, because when it's completely open or undefined, either way, you're picking up on, you know, everyone else's identity. It's floating through you. So who you're with is very, very important. Where you are is very, very important. For example, I can speak to this. Before I knew about human design, my father was a federal agent and we had to move out. I live in the southern part of the United States of America. We had to move to the northeast part, and I hated it. Like I hated it. Of course, I didn't realize that because I didn't know human design. I didn't realize, like, of course I hated it because it's not where I was supposed to be. And when we moved back to the South, like, you know, I like totally felt like myself again. So, and that's all that open G. It is being with people that make you, or that you can feel your authentic self, and also having the awareness that you have an open G and that your surroundings, you know, they always say the 5 people that you spend the most time with speaks to who you are, right? Like that's the high. And so if you take that saying and couple that with human design and this open G, it really does make sense. Like who you're with is very important because of your open G. It totally can influence you and feel like your own energy, and you could behave and act like someone else, which isn't authentic to you. So back to the energies that live in the G, there's self-expression, there's forgiveness, like you tell your own story. The self-expression is, I am this. Well, when it's open, you may or may not, you are, you know, whoever you're around basically, or wherever you are. Also that lives in the energy that lives in the G is our spirit. Like I trust source. I trust that I'm a part of source. I trust that because I have this divine light in me, like I am worthy, right? Vitality, like I embody my spirit. I allow people to support me. I am supported. I share. there's, I share me in my authentic self. I love myself. I love myself for who I am at my most authentic self. And I'm not afraid to show it to the world. And then lastly, I decide and I choose. So all of that energy is in the G center. And when it's open, all of that is, that means it's floating through you. So the confusion, to me, this was like a textbook question that you've already identified. Hey, does this mean something? Like, does this G being open have anything to do with, the fact that I don't know what my purpose is? Yes, it does. The other thing that, of course, I can't see your chart, but you said you have emotional authority. So are you in tune with your emotional wave? And if not, then that is going to be critical. So how do you deal with the open G center? You're paying attention to who, when you feel lit up and like super excited and like, oh my God, I feel like I am just on top of the world, pay attention to who you're with or where you are. Like, because that probably has something to do with it. Earlier it was mentioned to, what was it, Betsy, the the armchair traveler.
Armchair traveling.
Right. So that, all of that advice pertains to you with this open G. And so how you deal with it is think of all of those energies I just told you that reside in there, and think about questions, that you could ask, like, or even affirmations, for like that speak to your identity. Affirmations, I am beautiful and compassionate and loving and giving, and I, live as my most authentic self. So come up with affirmations on all of those energies that I mentioned that live in the G center. Pay attention to who you are with and where you are. When you're feeling completely in alignment and super energetic and really happy, that's when you're in alignment. Pay attention to who you're around, what you're doing, and where you are.
That's great. Thank you. All right. Our next question is from, I don't know if it's Stephen or Stefan. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. This question will go to Tony. So he asks, how do you identify which open center is most affecting your performance, and how do you go about recognizing this and affecting change? I feel like this is a similar question to the first one you answered, although different open centers this time.
Yeah. Hi, Stephen or Stefan. Yeah, you have a lot of openness being a projector, and your themes are success or bitterness. So I guess you could know if you're feeling some bitterness somewhere, like for example, in your head, and you have to know why, the pressure to know why. And if you feel like you're not getting the answer and you feel bitter about that, you know that you might have to focus somewhere there. And don't have to know why. You don't have to know why. And I've said it before, put those questions out to the universe and see what comes back to you. But you're 61, that's going to give you that pressure to know why. Your open ajna is also going to, you're going to be under pressure to be certain about things. Well, guess what? You can't be certain about everything either. So if you're feeling that, you need to feel certain. Well, just kind of relax and let that go. Your throat, if you feel like you're not being heard or you're not being seen, your gate 45 is actually one of leadership. So if it's that fear of not being seen, you're actually meant to be a true leader. So let go of that fear. Maybe just sit back and don't speak and wait and see who calls you out and invites you. So you don't have to be the one always speaking, because you have the open throat, which is waiting to give people that knowledge and just expertise that you have waiting inside of you to give to those who are ready and really going to appreciate you. Your open G as well. The gate 7, it sort of ties in with the 45 in your throat, where again, collaborative leadership. So if you're feeling like you're looking for love and direction and you don't have it, just sort of let that go, and maybe again, you need to be in the right place, the right people with your open G identity center, and there's just so much, there can be so much pain in these open centers, but so much opportunity as well. So if you're not feeling the love in your G center, you're feeling pain, you need to focus there. So and maybe it's all of them, I don't know. And the sacral as well, that open sacral. If you're if you're feeling you don't have sustainable life and workforce energy, you need to rest and take care of yourself. So if you're feeling burnt out, you need to ask yourself, when is enough enough? And take some time to rest and relax. So yeah, any of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 open centers, that's kind of where you can pick and choose which one to focus on, where you're feeling not your authentic self, and work on that and do some research and learn about your human design.
That was a fantastic overview of all of the questions that the open centers ask. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Robin, coming to you for Sophia's question. She did not submit a chart, but she has the root and the G center open and wants to know what that means for her as a manifesting generator and how best to work with those energies.
Hey, Sophia. Well, first of all, I just want to acknowledge you as a manifesting generator, and what a gift. What a gift you've been given, and a gift you are. So with that energy, with that capacity to impact and speak and be heard, you've got the conundrum of having an open root and open G. So here you have this potential of really doing is the operative word here, doing something in the world. But what, with the open root, what are you supposed to do, right? You're under pressure all the time from all the energies and everybody around you to do. So you can get hijacked. Your beautiful sacral to the throat energy, or motor to the throat energy, can get usurped by other people, if that makes sense. So the first thing to think about is, are you following your sacral yeses and nos of what to do? Because we need you focused. We need you to be following what you have a yes for. It matters. It really matters with the big hand you have, the big hand you've been dealt. So if you find yourself scattered, come back to your sacral. With that open root, again, like I was speaking earlier, the longer you can tolerate the tension of needing to do something without actually doing it, you're always going to have tension. You're always going to have the pressure of activity and doing something, like there's something to do. Learn to tolerate that, rest with that, relax with it, and wait for the right moment to act when your sacral tells you that you have a yes. Don't get hijacked by what other people need you to do, whether they say it or not, you feel it. So then we come to the challenge of your open G, like, oh my gosh, who are you? Right? And being tossed by whomever you're with, like, oh, this is who I am. This is who I am. I should follow this path. I should follow this path. I have an open G myself, so I understand this. We're shapeshifters. We're shifting all the time, depending on who we're with, where we are, where we live, what situation we're in. So How do you stabilize that? How do you stabilize that? How do you stabilize that and move forward with a direction that you have a yes for? Oh, sorry about that. There you go. How do you stabilize that? So the first thing to know is you don't have a specific role or identity. You're never going to have any ground in any role, whether it's a parent, whether it's a writer, whether it's a spouse. Any job you have, any role you play is just that. It's not the ground that you stand on. The ground that you stand on is knowing yourself. It's deeply spiritual, I think, knowing yourself as love, knowing yourself as love itself. From there, you're free to follow your sacral and see in any moment which direction to go, what thing to follow, because you're here to taste all of life. It's like an actor or an actress trying on a role in life and fully entering it, but never becoming that. So that's a beginning conversation. I'd have to look at your whole chart to really be able to say more, but you're going to want to ground on your sacral, and you're going to want to open to the all of you. So I hope that's helpful.
Open to the all of you. I feel like that needs to be printed on a some kind of art and hung on my wall. Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome.
All right. We have Deborah's question next for Aubrey. So Deborah's wondering, she's in a flux of what to do next for work and going back to a business role or starting a practice in the healing arts. She had a career in selling human capital services and is now learning to heal with energy. That is quite a turnaround. Any guidance is most appreciated in working with her open centers.
Beautiful. I think, anytime we find ourselves in these moments of, which direction do I go? Our open centers can really kind of show up in big ways, like especially for you having that completely open head, as we've talked about before. You can feel really inspired by a lot of different things, and you can kind of feel into the energies of kind of from the quantum field of what are all the possibilities and what is it that that's possible for you in your life. And I think that again, as we've also talked about, relying on your strategy in terms of the actual decision making is key. So as a projector, it's really about sitting with these things, doing stuff that lights you up in the meantime, getting curious about where you want to put your energy, and then really trusting, especially with the open spleen, trusting in that divine timing, trusting that when the timing's right for you to make the decision or do the thing, you'll get recognized. There will be an invitation. And in the meantime, it's about kind of exploring what lights you up. The other things I would say are just to be watchful for the pressure, again, with the open head and the open root. That does put kind of an intense pressure to figure things out, to get things done. And then with the other open centers, it can make you feel like with the open will, like you need to prove yourself, or with the sacral, sometimes, it can be like pushing with energy you don't have and lead to burnout. So that would be something maybe to think about in your last job, really contemplate, like, was I burning myself out? Was I doing this as a way to prove my value? And kind of reflecting on some of that can help clear some of the energies that may have been built up over the course of kind of this last phase career-wise for you. And then also on the open spleen, I noticed that you have the gate 32. And so you want to watch out for fear of failure, feeling like, you either need to push to make things happen, or not, like being paralyzed, like I'm not going to try anything because I'm afraid it might not work out. And so again, really kind of taking a deep breath and letting yourself feel into that divine timing and trusting in something greater than yourself, because when you let yourself get into that flow and get clear on your own worthiness, your own value, and kind of holding space for the energy of what's next, then you're more in alignment and able to kind of bring in that next invitation to let you know which direction is right for you. And then the last thing I would say, it's kind of popping out at me, is that you have the channel 1-8, which is really about, your purpose and in this lifetime is to be who you are, just authentically to own who you are, love who you are, and express that. And especially as a 6-line profile, your career and whatever job you do is beautiful and kind of supports your purpose, but really your life purpose is to be you and let other people experience the beauty that you are. And so, if that can kind of take some of that pressure off, just recognizing like me just showing up every day, me at, on a Zoom call, or me kind of with my kids or talking to a friend or whatever, just me showing up, that's enough. And that's actually kind of fulfilling the deeper kind of piece of my purpose. And then whatever other things kind of come in and you're invited into is just kind of another area where you can express that beauty of who you are.
Amen to that. Thank you. All right. Another Katerina. Perfect. Kelly, this one's for you. She's wondering if the undefined centers in her chart support her as working as an intuitive healer or generally as being a quote unquote translator. Interesting. She's wondering if she can rely on the open centers because she knows that in general, she doesn't have the ability to like create her own energy from those centers.
Okay, so isn't it interesting, you guys, that she used the word translator and she has an open throat?
Yeah.
So the long and the short of it is, yes, you can most definitely translate, like literally language, for people, like languages. I believe that also was discussed earlier. And so I know you're asking us about your openness. Okay, so your question was, is there anything in the chart that would support this decision of yours of being
an intuitive
healer? So yes, first of all, you have an open emotional solar plexus. And so that is your gift in being able to truly feel and embody everybody, like whatever, the whole collective or the individual that you're with. And then especially if they have definition in this emotional solar plexus, remember they would be projecting that emotion out, and then yours is open, so you're receiving that. And the gift is your natural empath. You have an open emotional solar plexus. I have talked about this earlier on this live, in that I think generator energy is such a gift, which you have. And so any questions that you have, you've got the gift of the yes, no, right? Like you've got this, you can do this sacral session. I know some people might not really understand what that is. If somebody had said that to me, I would be like, what is that? But you have within your body the ability to decide exactly what is right for you. In answer to your question about the openness in your chart, you're a natural healer, you're a natural empath. So yes, that openness is very helpful for your specific question in taking, transitioning your career to that way. What we've all talked about is that your generator energy, so it's important that you are doing that in response to something. So you have this open head, and we've already discussed the importance, and Ajna, and we've discussed the importance of the gift in that is that you have all the questions. So ask them, put them out into the universe and ask them, and then wait and see what shows up so that your sacral can respond. That feels good. Don't want to do that. Right. So you really have, I mean, I'm sitting here looking at you in energy form. I'm like, what a gift, because of what you're asking. If the openness is a gift for transitioning you into a healer, and I think absolutely yes. And then in the fact that you use the word translator, I love that you have an open throat. I don't know if you've already studied that, and so you chose that word, having some knowledge of human design, but I love it. So as a generator with an open throat, I've also discussed this before, it's important to be able to have someone that is going to allow you the honor of just letting you talk, right? in obviously giving you something to respond to in order to make this decision of this transition. Even though I hope you're getting confirmation, you've put that question out to the universe, you come on here and we're looking at you in energy form, and we're like, oh yes, you're a natural healer, you're empathic, and you absolutely, not only can you translate what others are feeling and back to them, right? Like, because if you're healing them, they're coming to you because they're trying to figure things out. And so you're going to be able to feel what they're feeling and then put it, and then put into words and translate to them what that is, because of the experience that you've had in life with this open throat, and how you are able to even talk like other people and express what do we say about the open throat? You could be a great like they do impersonations. And I know that's not necessarily exactly what you're asking, but it's the same concept, that translation. So remember, the openness in the head and ajna is not where decisions should be made from. That is your gift of putting the questions out there, so that where your gift is with the sacral, that you have something to respond to. And then you're a natural healer. And obviously, again, you're empathic, you have an open emotional solar plexus. I hope that was helpful.
Thank you, Kelly. All right. And then actually, I think you had wanted to answer Anna's question as well. So we'll just.
It's okay though. Since you're doing it like this, it's fine. Someone
All right. Okay. Tony, would you like to answer Anna's question next? She has 7 out of 9 centers open and wonders how to manage or leverage her energy with so much openness.
For the next one.
Say what?
If Kelly wants to go ahead with Anna, I was prepared for the next chart.
Okay, great. Kelly, why don't we bounce back to you? Since you wanted this one anyway. Hang on, I'm gonna unmute you.
Well, hi, Anna. Yes. I looked at it and I was like, oh, well, because I think a lot of us on here obviously have a ton of openness in our chart. And I was like, I actually, whether we call it like a fractal, like people that we attract into our worlds. And I do attract a lot of people that are similar energetically, that like you, Anna. So again, I'm going back to, you're a generator. So you have like the best gift ever is that in your body, or you will have all of the answers. But I get it, because I only have, I'm the same. I have my sacral and my throat, and that's it. So I get it. We're like, but I don't have all the answers, because we have life of conditioning. And so, we've got all these questions. We are in a society that just in general, we're under pressure to have to know, because what we knew was how worthy we are, how much money we made, that kind of thing. Betsy, I'm going to have to ask you to let me see the specific question though, because I didn't read it because I thought I wasn't doing it. All right. How do I leverage? Oh, okay, easy. So you leverage and manage your energy by learning how to use your sacral, period, the end. And again, I know you're like, what does that mean? So sacral sessions, but also just having that person, that trusted, that you can explain who you are energetically, or maybe there's already someone in your life that you feel a real bond with, because you're like, every time I get with them, I feel like I figure so much of my life out, because maybe they provide the energy that allow or asks you yes, no questions. So it's better to ask anyone with generator energy yes, no questions, not questions that let them get all into, because that's what we love to do with our open head and ajna. Like we were like, oh, what about this? And what about that? And it's so fun. And we can ask all these questions. And you have the gate of ideas. I can relate to that. So we're never without ideas. We're like, it could look this way, it could look that way. So how you leverage your energy by staying grounded. That is really difficult. I get it. You have all this openness. So you have to make a conscious effort to stay or to get grounded. And that could be different for, everybody. I know one of our human design specialists taught me about, I mean, I heard about lodestone before, but she was like, you know, with all of your openness, do you have a lodestone like on your desk, in your lap? Are you sleeping with it? Is it in your mattress, under your pillow? So I'm going to share that information. They're not expensive. Yes, lodestone. And so super helpful in helping to ground someone that's so open like this. Always remembering you've got to be asking the questions that we've discussed on this whole live, you know, questions for each of the centers. You know, is this my energy? Are these my questions? Do I feel pressure to figure this out? So, and then all the identity questions, you know, we talked about the G center, you know, do I love myself? Am I sharing my most authentic self? Do I remember that I am from source and I am a piece of that and I am worthy and I'm valuable? Do I feel pressure to get things done so that I can feel free? Like, these are all the questions of centers that are open. And it's important, in order to stay grounded, that maybe you're journaling on that, or what was discussed earlier, like checking in with each center one by one and figuring out what you're struggling with could be living, and then specifically journaling on questions for that specific center. But in general, how you manage and leverage your energy is understand that you have a ton of openness, which is great. I love it. And I hope you do too, because it helps us be more compassionate. It helps us then understand all these, we see all the sides to all the stories. It helps us to understand how others might feel. Now, I will say this for you, because you're asking how to manage and your energy. You have an emotional wave. You have an emotional, I think it's a tribal wave, or I mean, but I wanted to say it right. Is it a tribal emotional wave or emotional? It's a tribal emotional wave.
It's a tribal wave.
Yeah. And so you know, you will have to understand in managing your energy that it has a way, it has an ebb and flow. It is different for everyone. Unfortunately, we can't just say, okay, your wave is going to tick up for 3 days and then, you know, it's going to drop for 22 minutes and then, you know, you'll start up again. Like, that doesn't happen. You have to become, again, I think one of the best suggestions I've ever heard, I don't have this, but is, you know, just start journaling how you feel each day, and you start to see patterns about how your wave works. The emotional tribal wave isn't as up and down unless it has to do with like your relationships or your family, and that can be very troubling. So that part of managing your energy is, again, recognizing that you have a wave and that you you project that, right? Like, so that's your energy, you project that out, and then all this other openness is, so in other words, you're not, well, there are ways, other places that you're picking up emotions from people, but or feelings from people, but the emotional part for you is you have an emotional wave. So managing your energy, one suggestion would be figure out what that wave is. Again, it's probably not going to be like this high, low, low, unless it has something to do with a relationship or a child, you know, family, something like that. And with all of your openness, how you're managing that is making sure you recognize that you're taking in energy everywhere. Tons of thoughts are coming into your head. Other belief systems are coming into your ajna. You probably feel pressure to be heard, or like that you're never heard, or because of your open root and your open throat, and you're a generator. So you have this ongoing energy, especially if what you're trying to be heard about has to do with what you feel your mastery is. And you're like, but I know this and I can do it this way, and no one's listening. So recognizing that you're not pushing energy and that you're responding, waiting to respond, that's critical.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I want to just make sure, because we only have 10 minutes left, that we can still get to some more questions today.
Okay, I was just going to say, but the lodestone is critical. Okay, go.
Yeah, thank you. No, you're good. And thank you for sharing about that. People are loving about the lodestone, and I hadn't heard of it, but I just looked it up, and I guess it's a magnetite rock that's been struck by lightning, and it helps to balance the electromagnetic field of your body. So that was cool. I just learned about that for the first time. So thank you. That's super helpful. And I know Tina Rosnack just did also a quantum alignment show that's all about crystals and human design a couple weeks back. So that's another really good one to check out if you want to use stones or crystals to help balance and ground your energy as well. So thank you for that. Okay, we are going to move to Tony. I don't know if it's Elena. Let's say it is. I hope I'm not butchering your names. I'm sorry. All right, Elena has 6 open centers. We have so much openness on this call, of course. Her Ajna center doesn't have any activations and is wondering what the best strategy is for success for her. She has lots of energy and lots of ideas, but often spreads herself too wide and too thin, trying to multitask and do too many things.
Hi, Lena. Yeah, it's no wonder you have lots of energy being a generator from your sacral, and a lot of ideas with your open head and ajna. You're taking in and amplifying inspirations and ideas from others. So as far as your best strategy is always to follow your generator strategy and wait to respond to ideas and inspirations that reveal themselves, because your path to mastery is going to come from outside of yourself anyway. So that's perfect that you have an open head in ajna. You can always ask, put the question out, where should I focus my mastery? And instead of feeling overwhelmed and spreading yourself too thin, and see what answers come back for you. And also, you, like with your open will, you need to really decide what is truly important, where to focus your unlimited, sustainable sacral energy. What's important to you, and in this, what's valuable in life. So the other part of that is that because your solar plexus is open and you're not emotionally defined, so you don't have to wait through those emotional waves that Kelly talked about to make a decision. You can actually make a decision right in the moment. And again, you can have somebody ask your sacral yes or no questions, and then you can say or does that resonate with me? And your open root as well. You could just ask or ask yourself, you know, what would be the worst thing that would happen if I didn't get all these things done right now? And, you know, make a to-do list and go, okay, what if that doesn't get done? What's the worst that could happen? Well, probably not much. So your open root is it's pressuring you to get all these things done, but you might find that you could go take a nice walk instead, and make sure you take care of yourself.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, we probably have time for a couple more, so I'm going to move to Robin. All right. Carissa has the open head, ajna, and solar plexus open and wants to know what that means for her and how to work and show up in life with these open centers.
Yes. Hi, Carissa. I just want to say I've never seen a chart like this before. It's amazing, your circuitry and your network. It's like you have, these are like pathways, and you've got a network, a network to support you that's incredible. So you have a lot of a ground and support for yourself in the world. So then you have these 3 open centers, and 2 of them are completely open, right? And one of them has one gate, one hanging gate. So that's where you're going to be, I spoke about this earlier, you're going to be receiving life. Now, the tendency is for us with those open centers, the ego doesn't like that openness. So it grabs hold of other people's thoughts, ideas with the open head, or feelings with the open emotional center, to try to have some ground. It would rather have something, even if it doesn't feel good, than to have that openness, because the openness is threatening to the ego. So with your open centers, the invitation is to allow them to not feel like you have to be with that open head, that you have to have consistent thoughts or ideas. Maybe your head is tossed in the wind. You have all this ground and your head is tossed in the wind with this idea or this idea, depending on who you're with, what you're taking in and amplifying. So for one, to welcome that openness, welcome that with your open ajna, you're not designed to process things in a consistent way. Maybe sometimes you process things through your intuition or through your heart or through your gut center. So to be open to the variety of ways you might navigate life, because this openness is your gift, along with the ground, the beautiful ground and stability you have. I sometimes think, especially of that open ajna, like when you're driving a car, if you hold onto the steering wheel too tight, you hit the bumps, and you know it's not a good thing. But if you hold loosely, so with these open centers, to hold loosely so you can navigate what's coming, and with your open emotional solar plexus, to be really wise about what you're feeling and is it yours, and maybe even take the inquiry for a while of, what if this is not mine? What if whatever feeling arises, just the first thought is curiosity about who's feeling this? Who's feeling this feeling? And allow that feeling. People have talked about the screen door. Allow the feelings to wash through you rather than grabbing hold of any particular feeling. Again, I think of each of these open centers that they have we could call it a God stability potential. Like with that open emotional solar plexus, it's as if the emotions are waves on top of the water, but beneath that is the ocean, this kind of dynamic stillness, this bliss. In spiritual teachings, they call it maybe bliss emptiness. Like you have the capacity to stabilize on a kind of bliss that doesn't have emotional waves that are washing all over the place. So how do you show up? How do you work and show up with these open centers? You welcome them and you embrace them, and you open to the places in you that are variable, that are shifting, that aren't stable in the way the rest of your experience of yourself is stable. And I just want to add one thing, because your sun is in the gate 15, which is the gate of extreme. So you're designed to be extreme and to be self-loving when your earth is in 10. So to be self-loving in your openness, that will support any extremes you experience in your life. You have an amazing chart. Everybody does, but I just love to spend a lot of time talking to you. But I know other people want to talk, but I hope that helps.
Thank you so much, Robin. All right, we are technically at the end of our time, but I'd like to just do one more question, if you all don't mind staying just a couple of extra moments. And Aubrey, this last one will be for you. Oh my, it's a long question. Okay, hang on one second. They didn't submit a chart either, so we'll just read the question. Wanting to learn more about how the energy works with the open centers and the wisdom of the open centers. It sounds like they have a open centers in the lower part of their chart, the root, the spleen, the sacral, and the will. And they feel a lot of tension building in that lower part of their body, in their throat, in their neck, and in their heart. And that during quarantine, it sounds like she has loved the calm and quiet of quarantine and the lack of stress, and no, she says, no generator buzz going around. And that immediately after the lockdown and after the holidays, she felt an enormous tension building up in her body again. And she thinks it's especially the root that she's feeling, the open root. She'd love to learn how to let go of this tension and let her body know if it's hers or not, and be able to relax again. So she's wondering specifically about the wisdom of the open root.
Yeah, this is a lot. And I think this is an experience that a lot of us with a lot of openness have had during quarantine, especially the beginning. It was just like this sense of relief and like, oh, I can breathe and I can relax and I feel like more like myself. And especially being a 6'2" with that second line profile, you really do need time by yourself to kind of reconnect with yourself, to release the energy from these open centers. So that's one thing that I would suggest, is that even as you're, I know as a stay-at-home mom, I'm also a stay-at-home mom, it's not always easy to find time to be by yourself, but as much time as you can kind of put into your day to have time alone outside of the auras of your family, because it sounds like there probably is some root center definition in some of your family members. And the wisdom of the open root, which is the piece that you're kind of most feeling, it sounds like, is about realizing, what is this pressure, and is it real, and is it mine? So getting yourself into a space, especially when you're alone, and just reflecting on, like, was this mine? Was this something that was ever meant for me? And the other piece of that is communication can be really helpful. And just, being honest and talking with your partner or even your daughter about, like, look, I'm feeling like you really need this from me, or you're really like wanting me to do this thing. Like, can we talk about that? Because sometimes, especially with an open root, it can actually be just perceived pressure. The other person can be like, whoa, I didn't actually need that from you at all. Or I was just expressing my opinion. It didn't actually have anything that I like needed or pressure kind of sent in your direction. So sometimes just having a more open communication and everyone knowing their energy to kind of bring some ownership there. So that's something I would also suggest. And without seeing the rest of your chart, I might also suggest, if you're feeling a lot of tension in your body, doing some sort of body work, massage or something, to kind of help relieve some of these tensions and get the energy in your physical body moving. Because, as we do work mentally, emotionally, spiritually, sometimes we have to catch up our body. And if we're still physically holding these tension and this energy, then it can kind of put out of balance all the other work that we're doing in these other areas. The other piece that I might say is also just kind of tapping into the wisdom in your other open center. So the wisdom of the sacral, about just really feeling into the flow of life, trusting that, you have the support you need, you have things that you need, and kind of leveraging the energy around you. So when it feels good, be around these people and get some of that, not your daughter, but maybe your partner, like feeling into their definition, and using that instead of feeling like it's bombarding you, bringing some more awareness and saying, you know what, right now I'm just going to play with the, like, taking in that energy and amplifying it and using it as a way to kind of reconnect and kind of connect in. I'm getting also being a manifester with your internal nonverbal creative flow that's like constantly going. Sometimes when we feel bombarded through our openness, when we feel like we don't have awareness and we aren't being present with the energies that we're taking in, it can kind of block our flow. And so bringing more awareness to the pressures that you're feeling, and let's see, what other ones did you have open? Oh, the spleen, any fears that you're feeling or not trusting in right timing, and getting that time alone to really reflect on what's true for you and getting in touch with your own kind of flow so you can come back with more renewed energy. So I hope that helps, Judith.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for joining. It's always hard to get to all of the questions in one session. So thank you all for being here with us today. And I want to give just an opportunity for each of our panelists to let you know where you can find them if you're interested in a reading or any other services with them. So Aubrey, you're already unmuted, so I don't know if you want to go ahead and start and let people know where they can find you.
Yes, you can find out more about the work that I do at my website, which is aubreyparker.com. And, the work that I do really integrates mind, body, spirit, and at the base of it has healing. So I do physical healing work, working with the body and kind of releasing old stories and past traumas and kind of held, stuck emotions. Which also then, as we're able to kind of reclaim and rewrite our story about who we are using human design, helps kind of balance and liberate our energies. And I also have an open G, and I feel like the wisdom there, I really offer something that I call soul mirroring. So I feel like when I'm in sessions with people and really in relationship with other people, I can experience the truth of who you are and reflect that back so that you can see kind of the beauty and the value and the divine, beautiful spark that you are, and help you kind of find a pathway to healing and fully living into that space. So if you're interested, I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Aubrey. And Robin, you're next on my screen, so I'm going to go to you next.
Thank you so much. This is such an honor to be here. Yeah, I am an author of Understanding Your Clients Through Human Design. And I've just put the link to a free copy of my book in the Zoom chat, and I'll put it in the Facebook as well. I train coaches and therapists to use human design in their practices. And yeah, I just think this is a real gift. Human design is a real gift that it's time for everybody to understand themselves and use it to know who they are and shine. So
Perfect.
you can reach me. My email is robin@clientsandhumandesign.com.
Perfect. And I see your book behind you, so that's
yes.
All right, Tony, I see you on my screen next, so I'm going to you.
Yeah, I by trade am an accountant. I work in business. I work with a lot of businesses, small and medium, to get their business set up, to make sure that the people in their business are working in the right jobs, or to help people look at themselves in their own business and make sure that they're working their energy properly. So you can have a look at my website, and I encourage all of you to learn more about human design, because it saved my life. And just my openness, being a reflector. I don't know what I would do without human design now. So thank you, and happy learning your strategy.
Thank you, Tony. And you're also almost certified to work with the quantum alignment system as well. So I wanted to just name that you do that also. So, all right, and Kelly, we'll go to you.
Hi, thank you guys so much. This was amazing. I love this opportunity. So I just wanted to appreciate everyone that showed up and that submitted questions. I am my name on Instagram and Facebook, which is Kelly with a Y, and Yeomans, Youmans. I put my links in the chat and my email. And I would love to chat human design all day, every day with anyone that would like to.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you to everyone who submitted a question. If we didn't get to your question, I apologize. We had so many submissions and just couldn't get to everyone. So we'll be having 2 more Chart-o-Thons in the next 2 weeks, and you'll have another opportunity to submit a question. So don't worry. Thank you again to Aubrey and Robin and Tony and Kelly. We're so grateful to you for your wisdom. And thank you, all of you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.